You know, when the skater was drafted in the NHL, we knew he was going to end up a tough customer. Boston took a very, very high pick on him in the 82 draft, 22nd overall. But what Brian Curran brought to every team he played for was a toughness that couldn't be trained, a toughness that couldn't be packaged. What you saw is what you get. Now, the native of Toronto, Ontario, 6'5", 215, so 6'8" on skates. Now, he went from an NHL career to later on as a coach, executive at the major levels, and had great success, mostly with the Drumheller Dragons of the AJHL as GM and again coach. Now, he was born in Toronto but grew up in veteran Alberta. Now, his early major league, major junior career was mostly in three of the most respected programs out west. Red Deer of the Alberta AAA League, Notre Dame of the Saskatchewan AAA League, where he had 67 points in 65 games. Now, with the Portland Winterhawks, this is where he got his major recognition. Second year with Portland, 30 points in 59 games, 275 minutes in penalties, and from what I heard, a protector for all the big Portland players. Now, entering the draft, he was the number 14 WHL prospect for the entry that year in '82. Now, what really hurt him a little bit in that 81-82 season, he had a major surgery to remove his appendectomy operation. Now, he grew up tough because his father actually worked long hours as a cattle buyer, and he learned his hard work ethic by watching his father, compose as part of a very tough job. Now, he also attended Athol Murray College of Notre Dame in Wilcox, Saskatchewan, prestigious program, before entering major junior hockey. Now, Curran came into the league on March 1st, '84, in a game against Los Angeles. Now, on defense, again, he had played the majority of that season with the Hershey Bears with 2 assists in 23 games. But 60 games with Boston, he had his first goal in the NHL, 57 minutes in penalties. Second year with Boston, again, a stay-at-home defenseman who was called upon on occasion to drop the gloves, 158 penalty minutes, 56 games, only 1 assist. Now, 86 was a breakthrough year for him. He had 7 points in 43 games, with 2 games in the playoffs. But he was suffering from nagging injuries throughout his first few years. But here, what really, he drew big interest. He broke the New York Islanders record for penalty minutes in the season in 1987 with 356 and added 51 in the playoffs. 76 games that year, 10 assists. 88, still with the Islanders, but he had played with Springfield as well, then found himself in the Toronto Maple Leaf system with 1 assist in 7 games. Next 2 seasons, again, he put up some decent numbers, but again, penalty minutes followed him. 189 in 47 games in 185 in 89. In 1990, 301 penalty minutes in 72 regular season games. Now, 91 was a rough year. He found himself out of the Toronto system, played with Newmarket for a while, moved over to Buffalo, where he only had 1 assist in 17 games after only 4 games with Toronto that year. 92, again, Meyer DHL, 3 assists in 36 games. But 93, again, where he became a big fan of the Maritime AHLers, a very good season with the Cape Breton Oilers, 26 points in 61 games, including 24 assists. 94, again, back in the NHL with Washington. He had 1 goal in 26 games, but 247 minutes in penalties in 46 games with Portland. Now, 95, he played the full season in Portland. 96, split time between the AHL and the IHL, 8 points in 52 games. Made the Philadelphia Phantoms for a few games in 97, but 98, lower minor pro, 2 teams in the IHL, Utah and Las Vegas, and with the Monroe Moccasins of the WBHL, that's where he wrapped up his pro career with 24 points in 68 games, including 7 goals. Very good season that year. Now, following his playing career, he got into coaching, was a head coach of the Jacksonville of the ECHL in 99, and again the Monroe Moccasins, his former team, in 2000. He was also the GM and head coach of the Quad City Mallards until he resigned on April 26, 2007. Curran was also the head coach of the Kalamazoo Wings hockey team in Kalamazoo during the 2008 season, but was released in April of that year. Now, on July 9th of 2008, he was hired as head coach and GM of the Brooks Bandits of the Alberta Junior Hockey League. Now, on October 16th, he and the Bandits parted company. Then he was introduced as the head coach and GM of the Lloydminster Bobcats of the AJHL on November 25th, 2009, a position he held until he resigned on March 8, 2012. Now, on February 22nd, 2012, Curran was named to the 2012 AJHL Coach of the Year. On March 15 that year, he eventually signed a 5-year contract to coach and manage the Drumheller Dragons of the AJHL. So again, very dedicated to Junior A programs. Now, the problem is with young Curran, lot of injuries. Missed part of 85 with a Charlie horse and an affected elbow. Missed part of 86 with a broken thumb. Missed the remainder of 86 season with a broken leg in February, and didn't come back until the playoffs in April. Now, he was a big defender with Ken Morrow in that 87 team, but then he missed part of 88 with a broken jaw. And after returning from injury, he had to play the remainder of the season with a special jaw guard attached to his helmet to keep away from future injuries. Now, he also missed parts of 89 with a pulled pelvic muscle and a bruised spine, which he hurt against Steve Duchesne's knee during a Toronto game at LA. He also missed the remainder of the 89 season with dislocated right wrist, and missed parts of the 91 season with a bruised left wrist and with a shoulder injury. Now, he did sign with Edmonton as unrestricted free agent in October 92, but never played for them. Now, what really stood out for a lot of people, of course, is the 2 back-to-back Calder Cup championships. He won a Memorial Cup in Portland, as we all know, but he won the AHL Calder Cup in 93 and 94 in Cape Breton and Portland back-to-back. Now again, like I said, WPHL Coach of the Year in 2000 with Monroe, ACHL Coach of the Year in 2003 with Bacon. He was the Portland Playoffs MVP in that 83 season. 91, he played on the AHL regular season champion Rochester. 97, he played on the AHL regular season champion in Philadelphia with the Phantoms. Now, again, he was also Columbus's of the ECHL Director of Player Personnel starting July 24, 2003, and held the position into 2004. Now, get this. He grew an inch after he was drafted. So when he got the player that was 6'4", but because he was still growing as an athlete, you can't until 21. He ended up being 6'5". Now, the big injury, of course, when he missed part of the 83 season with a broken ankle, which was suffered during Boston's training camp in September 82. Another broken ankle in 84, and very, very active athlete as well, because he competed in triathlons during the off seasons of his playing days. Now, quite a character, Biff. Biff had made front page news in 85-86 because he tried to get away from Boston. He had played out his contract with Boston in 86 and became a restricted free agent. He eventually signed with the Islanders on August 29th of that year. Now, as compensation for signing Curran, the Islanders sent very talented Paul Boutillier to Boston on September 7th, 86. The compensation was decided by arbitrator because the Islanders and Bruins could not reach an agreement on their own. The Islanders wanted to send Boutillier to Boston, but the Bruins were asking for Steve Conroy, of all people. Now, in September 5th hearing in Toronto, Judge Edward Houston of Ottawa, the NHL's arbitrator, sided with the Islanders and awarded Boutillier to Boston. There's no indication why they're looking for Steve Conroy, because at the time Steve was a decent player, but not the level of Boutillier. But I think they were looking at the overall impact that Steve could make long term, because he had some success. So, ladies and gentlemen, Brian Curran, kind of the forgotten enforcer of the Maple Leafs in that era, where not say they were struggling, but 89 was a rough season. 1990 again, he had a consistent year, and again was the main enforcer for Toronto. There's no way to avoid it. But look at the numbers here, ladies and gentlemen. NHL 1,461 minutes in penalties. The AHL 1,274. The WHL, when he was a major junior, 600. WPHL at 239. IHL at 106. So that's 3,500 minutes in penalties in the regular season, and another 400 in the playoffs. So 4,000 minutes in penalties, you do the math. He was there for a reason, to protect these fellow players, to protect the top players, and again, a very dedicated player. You don't play 2 decades in hockey and win a Memorial Cup and two Calder Cups without being talented. But when the Portland Winterhawks were an early 1980s powerhouse, he was a big part of that. And I look at the 83 season when he went back after being drafted by Boston. 70 games that year, he had 35 points, again, mostly a stay-at-home defenseman. But, you know, you forgot here. Final NHL totals, 733, 40, and 381 games, and 1 assist in 24 playoff contests. So, big supporter of junior A hockey, a major junior star, AHL star, NHL well-respected player. Brian Curran left a legacy that's well-respected. And again, another good request from our friend Bo Sheaves. Bo, thank you very much. Bo can tell you, you need a good enforcer that's also a good, solid stay-at-home defenseman. Because no matter what happens, you know, they're called upon to help out the penalty kill unit, but when you have to take a penalty, it's good to have a solid defenseman that can stand up. And you can't teach 6'5". You say 215. I've seen Brian probably play at 220 or 225. So very, very impactful, no pun intended, player. So that's the story of Brian Curran. Thanks for listening. Bye.